Breach18 from Breach18.com. Today we're going to have a look at Seasons. Seasons is a game about war. No, of course it's not. It's about seasons. It's pretty obvious it's about seasons. The box is bright. It's just screams colour, which is what you'd expect. You're going through all of that, you get a lot of colour. You've got the leaves, you've got the snow, you've got the sun. So let's take a look at this 2 to 4 player game of card drafting, hand management and dice rolling.
So we'll just go over roughly how you'd play the game. So the game begins with the deck of cards. So I'd shuffle the deck of cards, which I have, and then we'd deal out 9 cards to each player. So then you would look at your cards and you would choose which one you want out of the cards, and then you would pass the deck to the next player. It's the drafting mechanic, you know, you pick one, you pass them around and they'll be doing the same thing. Each of the cards have got a number in the top corner. This is ultimately what the card is worth at the end of the game. So in this case, this is worth 6 crystals. The aim of the game is the player with the most crystals wins. So these are pretty important. Down here, it will tell you what you need in terms of energy types in order to summon this power card. So we need fire and air. So this is the little fire symbol and the little feather air symbol here. So we'd need one of each of those energies in order to bring this to the table. You'll also notice a little symbol down here. There's actually 3 different symbols. This one just means it has an effect as it comes into play. There's also cards with the arrow going round. This means that this effect will go constantly throughout the game. And then also we have a little cog symbol here, which means you can actually exhaust this to activate the ability of the card. So kind of like in Magic where you would tap something, it's just the same principle. So you would tap that to show that you're activating it, then after your turn, and when it comes to your turn again, you'd untap that and then you're able to activate that again if you choose to do so. So that's basically how the cards work. Each of the cards have the text here and it tells you what effect it has when that card's played or activated, or like I said, throughout the game. These cards and the abilities are fantastic because you can really get some great combos going. And they can help you achieve a high score at the end of the game. So there's different ways of gaining crystals. So that's one of them, by summoning cards with the total in the top corner. You do get penalised at the end of the game, so if you've got these cards in your hand and you haven't been able to summon them, you then get deducted the cost of the cards. So for example, this card here is worth 6. If you don't play this card, by the end of the game you'll have -6 crystals. So it's important not quite to take too much on, but to take enough on to boost your points. So a game basically starts like this. So you would have your 9 cards. You'll sort them into piles of 3 times to represent the 3 seasons that we have on the board here. So we'd have one pile of 3, and that's what we have available to us for the first season. We have another pile of 3, which we have then put this second token on. So we leave that on top of those 3 cards, and we can't actually summon them until the second season. And we do the same with the third one. So we've got another pile of 3, and we put that 3 token on it to say we can't use them until the third one. So this is our first season pile. So the game starts with the first player, and we always start on the number 1 here on the track. As the season goes round, this will move along with it, and as the year goes, we then move the year. So there's 3 years to a game. So we'll take the dice. As you can see, these are huge dice, and we roll them. As the first player, I get first pick. Now, as you can see, there's different symbols on there. This symbol's just crystals. So from this dice, you would get 6 crystals, which you would then move on the crystal tracker here, and the 2 dots. We'll come to the dots in a second. The other die is a 1, so we'd get 1 crystal here, and there's 2 water symbols. So we'd take 2 water energies. So we'd take these, and on our little game board here, we'd just slot them in. So we've got a maximum of 7 energies we can store up here. Or on the third option, we can take a card. So once we've taken our cards at the beginning of the game, this is then left as a deck. So we'd take the card, and then we'd choose whether we want to keep that or not. So I'll say I've gone for this die. So I put that in the centre here, and then the other player decides to go for this die because it's got the crystals on it, so that's pretty advantageous for them. So we're left with this one. Whichever die we're left with, the dots on it indicates how far the season tracker moves. So there's 2 dots, so it'll move twice. So we'll go 1, 2. So we're now in winter on the 3rd part. As you can see, we've got different energy tokens here, and if you look on the board, there's a key. So what this actually means is, at the moment we're here, so this is like the ledger, so this tells us what our trading rate is. So we can trade in 1 water or 1 air for 1 crystal, or we can trade in 1 fire for 2 crystals, or you can trade in 1 earth for 3. So, and this changes as the seasons progress. So obviously it's fluctuating depending on which are more frequent in particular seasons. The only time you can change these tokens into crystals is called a transmute phase. So what it is it's symbolized on the die as a circle around there. If you get that, then as part of your turn, you are able to trade in. So I will trade in these 2 for 2 crystals, because that's what it says we get for those 2 at the moment. So we would then move our tracker 1, 2 on the crystal tracker there, and pretty much so on and so forth. But the cards basically come into play when we get a star. So when we get a star symbol, we're able to then move our summoning gauge. So our summoning gauge is on our player board. So I'll just quickly show you this one. We start off with 0. For every star we get, we move it up 1 place on this summoning gauge, and that basically tells us how many cards we are allowed to summon. So if we've got 1 on the summoning gauge, we're only allowed to summon 1 card to the table. So these are quite important to keep an eye on this, to make sure you have enough power on your summoning gauge to get the appropriate number of cards played to the table. And also, as you can see down here, this is the bonus part. So you can use any of these bonuses at any time on your turn, but you can only use 3 of them for the whole game. And each time you use one of them, you will incur a penalty at the end of the game. So -5 for the first one, -12 for the second, and -20 for the third one. So it does go up quite steep, but these abilities do actually really help you. This basically symbolises trading in 2 energy tokens for 2 of any other type of energy tokens. This allows you a transmute phase when you may not necessarily be able to transmute. This allows you to increase your summoning gauge by 1, and this allows you to draw 2 cards and choose 1 and discard the card. Oh my god, I love this game. Seasons is just such a cool, pretty, great looking, easy game. I just can't say enough good things about it. I play it a lot, Not only do I play it a lot in board form, I actually play it a lot on game board arena as well. It's really addictive. There's so many different elements to this game that it doesn't necessarily come across straight away, but there's so many things that you can do, and you're always thinking of different strategies to how to improve your score. It's like, okay, do I go for more cards than transmuting energies? And it's like, okay, or do I go for the dice that I've got just a straight crystals on it? And you can play these combos, like you can summon a card that tells you you can pay 1 less energy to summon another card, which is fantastic. So you're not always having to try and get all of the energies. So if there's an energy that you're finding particularly hard to get hold of, you can, you know, forfeit that one and then just pay the others. As long as it meets the requirements of paying 1 less and nothing else, then you're fine. You can do other things, like there's a card that allows you to either go 3 spaces back or 3 spaces forward on the seasons tracker here. You do incur huge penalties, like, well, it starts off at -5 and it goes up to 20 and you can only use that 3 times, but sometimes it is worthwhile in using them because the benefits can be huge. So it's all about sort of timing things really carefully. And the summoning gauge is awesome because you can be a proper arse and like every time you roll the dice, quickly go, if it's your turn to choose the dice first, choose the one with a star on it, because then, you're basically stopping the other players from getting the dice with the stars on it. So minimizing their summoning gauge so they're not able to play their cards as and when they want. So, and they can't then get their points for the cards at the end of the game. There's some cool cards which actually gives you negative values as well, which is pretty cool, because you can team that up with a card that allows you to then give a card to another player or get rid of a card to another player. So if you've been given a -5 card, you can then essentially give that to someone else. There's just so many cool things that you can do. It's like sacrifice a potion of knowledge, gain 5 energy tokens, and that's like the card's worth none itself, but you get 5 energy tokens of your choice, and you just basically activate that whenever you want to use that, and then sacrifice it and then get those 5. There's so many different things you can do. There's so many different cool ones. Like this one here, the card itself is worth 6, and then if you pay 2 earth, you gain 9 crystals. It's just such a cool, and the artwork is so beautiful. It's just, I love the artwork. And it's like this, you pay 1 of each, and then you gain 3 crystals for each of your other magic items in play. There's so many different options, and this is just one deck of cards that you get in the box. You get another deck as well, but it suggests that in the rules that you leave that deck until you get better at the game. And this one is interesting as well. So it costs you 20 crystals to summon, but you get like 30 overall. So, okay, so the payoff is you go down 20 crystals on the crystal tracker, but at the end of the game, you're going to get 30 crystals overall. So it's like a difference of 10. So there's just so many things, and there's ones that you can constantly activate throughout the game. So you can just tap it and you then activate that and you gain it. So this one, I've used this in a game and it really, really peed off the person that I was playing. Every time you discard 3 identical energy tokens, and then you gain 9 crystals. So that's a really, really cool one. I use that quite a lot whenever I can, and it really pisses Amy off big time, because I'm just like stacking up identical ones, and then every time I'll just activate that, because that stays in play, and then you just activate it, and it's like, yeah, trade in those 3 and get 9 crystals on the tracker, and then at the end of the game it's actually worth that much itself. So it's just an amazing game. The dice are so so cool. They're just like, they're not like small dice, they're big clunky things. So when you're rolling them, the way they just hit the table, it's just like proper clatter. And it always goes round. So if you're in like this blue section, you roll the blue dice. When you get to the green section, you roll the green dice. And then what's on them changes. So you're more likely to roll a fire or an earth in the summer, and you're more likely to roll a water and an earth in the spring. So it's just really thematic like that, and the tokens are so cool, the way they just slot in along your board like that, and you can kind of see what you're doing, and you can, it's like, although your hand of cards before you summon them to the table are private, so you can kind of scheme, like this is all like open information. And I like the little section in the middle where you can just pop your dice in there. I mean, you don't really need it, but it just looks so cool. And then you've got this really sort of like intimidating tracker where at the top you've got 0, 100, 200, and people are like, wow, how are you going to get over 200? Trust me, you can get over 200. And the thing is sometimes it can look like someone's really steaming away with the game, but when it comes down to it, and when you've totaled up your card values and everything like that, most of the games are really, really close, and I love that. I hate it when there's like someone just really pulls out of the lead and it's just kind of like, oh, right, well, I best keep playing the game until the end, even though you've got no chance of winning. But this is really close, dead tense down to the end, and you think, oh no, I'm never going to come back. And then when you're totaling it up at the end, it's like, oh my god, I've won by 2. And it's just, I love that about it. So for me, Seasons is a great game. 2 to 4 players, fun, it's got loads of elements in it, so card drafting, hand management, dice rolling. Seasons.